So the farmers in America, they lost all their workers because they got deported. And then they voted for Trump. And then they lost a lot of the grants because this guy Musk has been, cleaning out, and he's taking from the poor. The farmers can't pay their bills. They're having to sell. And J.D. Vance set up a company so that he could buy farms. They're buying all the farms in America, just like they did with all the private houses. Oh, you guys are so smart. You're brilliant. You can't make this. Okay, I have positive news. Here's the positive news. Decades of proud ignorance that you've had is coming to an end. Jesus.
U.S. farmers are starting to regret their vote for Trump. From beekeepers to soybean to hay producers, all of them are starting to say, I never thought that voting for Trump 3 times would result in me losing tens of thousands of dollars. A beekeeper out of North Carolina says, yeah, I proudly voted for Trump all 3 times. I flew flags for him and put signs for him in the yard. But now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars due to lost federal funding and tariffs, so I cannot export my products, my honey and my wax, to other countries like I could before, and nobody's buying it in the United States. Hay producers in Idaho and Utah that export alfalfa hay to China are now seeing 135% tariffs put on their product, and all of a sudden, they don't have anywhere to ship it. They held it all winter in hopes of sending it off to China in the spring, and now China's not willing to buy. Soybean producers are once again being hit harder than they were in the first Trump administration, and China, for its part, has diversified where it pulls these products from, with Brazil becoming the #1 soybean exporter, and other countries picking up the slack for honey, for beeswax, and for hay around the world. Now, China's doing a great job diversifying, and the United States has relied on exports to China for so long that its farmers are going to just continue to suffer. Once again, the majority of them voted for Trump, and now they're finding out.
I know you told me you voted for President Trump. What were you hoping that he would do?
I was hoping he would did something that made sense regarding the economy, made some kind of progress in bettering, the benefits of being a veteran.
Pray tell, what exactly were the plans that he had said he was going to put in place that had you so excited that he was going to take care of veterans? What was the indication he gave you from his first presidency? Particularly when in 2017, he froze federal agencies, which affected the VA for 79 days. What was the reason? To reduce government agencies through attrition, to make the government leaner and more efficient. That's it. No plan. Literally, remove workers and do not replace. Exactly how does that get you your benefits when there's no one there to help you? Not to mention his privatization push, which basically made VA care lower quality, fragmented, and weaker overall. Trump actually downplayed the severity of combat troops' TBIs, traumatic brain injuries that they suffered from, calling them headaches. And finally, something that you guys seem to be totally blind towards accepting, is him calling fallen soldiers suckers and losers, to include prisoners of war like Senator John McCain. May he rest. Why do you think this man gives a fuck about you as a veteran? He has given no indication, in fact, the opposite, that he cares about veterans or doing anything for them.
I mean, it just seemed like he actually cared about doing what was best for the country, but now it just feels like all about me, Donald Trump, not,
Where have you been?
you know, the guy out there working in the trenches trying to make ends meet, trying to pay a mortgage, trying to pay the bills. You know, it goes against everything I expected when, you know, I voted for him.
So you're not satisfied with what you see?
No. And it doesn't even have to do with anything about me getting fired. I mean, if I had gotten fired as part of the, you know, government, cutting government spending, I would have been fine with that. I can accept that.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, my little Pinocchio.
But he's not delivering on anything he said he was going to do.
What policies? Tell us. What specific policies were you so excited about? Because I don't remember a damn one that he proposed that made any fucking sense. You're not off the hook.
So what's your real game plan? You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
There are some things that he promised to do that he has put in place. I mean, there are executive orders that he's done, that he said that he was going to do. You don't feel like he's lived up to those promises?
I mean, where are the results? I mean, seriously, prices are still going up.
I'm going to say this once more because people don't seem to understand. Number one, the president is not the single biggest factor that affects global and national prices. There are other factors. That is just one. Secondly, your inability to understand why prices go up and down goes to show that you don't fucking get why Donald Trump is terrible when it comes to the economy. You know, he's terrible when it comes to everything, but one disaster at a time.
We're now in the middle of a tariff war with a bunch of countries that used to be our steadfast allies. I mean, how do you make an enemy of Canada? You know, they're right next to us, and they've been one of our premier allies and commerce partners for, I mean, seriously, like what, centuries now?
And he did say that he was going to put tariffs in place. Did you just not think that they would be implemented in this particular way?
I didn't think they were going to be put in play in a juvenile way.
I think you could have just stopped at, I didn't think.
I mean, where was the attempt to actually talk to the heads of these other countries? Like, hey, you know, I feel you have unfair tariffs against our products. I'd like to talk about it first. And if we can't work out some kind of resolution, then I feel to protect our people, we need to implement this kind of tariff. There was no attempt at even talking to the other countries.
When has he ever played nice with anyone ever? In his last presidency or outside of it? During his campaigns? When has he ever played nice? When has he ever been professional? Name one instance. I can't with these people. Y'all made your bed. Now you can lie in it.
Oh yeah, here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Oh yeah, me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better. But I'm not seeing any signs that we're going to get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
Hey, you know, one more thing about that farm thing. Those farmers complaining about how the Trump's trade war is hurting farms. And not just China, even though China no longer buys U.S. beef, that's gone to Brazil. They no longer buy U.S. soybeans. They don't buy a bunch of other agricultural products from us because they can source them elsewhere. And these farmers are all over these apps whining and crying that they didn't think it would hurt them. And please, Mr. Trump, I voted for you 3 times, and all this kind of bootlicking kind of BS. The other thing about that is, like I said in my other video, excuse me, there's a particular relationship, black people and farms in this country, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The other thing is, do you remember during the Biden-Harris administration, their administration worked out a settlement with black farmers to pay them back pay for excluding them from bailout money that they were entitled to. The money only went to white farmers, and so black farmers, that's the way it is in this country, had to sue to get their fair share. And after years of court wrangling in the courts and everything, it was finally settled and black farmers were going to get their due. Sorry, my allergies. And you know why they didn't get their due? Sorry about that. Because white farmers sued to block the government settlement that they had made with black farmers. And white farmers sued saying that the white farmers, were being discriminated against for not getting some of the black settlement money. The black settlement money was because only white farmers got some of the initial bailout money, not black farmers. That's how twisted it is. So to the white farmers online whining about loss of business, threats to having their farms shut down and shut off, I say, fare thee well, good sirs. Fare thee well. You got what you got. You get what you get. You don't pitch a fit. You voted for Donald Trump, and you know what? He is working you over because the big conglomerates, some I hear I've read are owned by J.D. Vance or his companies, are about to buy up your land for pennies on the dollar. And you're going to be one picking those blueberries for $11 an hour, 7 days a week, for 10 hours a day. Literally, how you like them apples?
I wanted to start off by saying I did vote for Donald Trump. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even like, so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding, they can't release the funds.
Donald Trump just said that if immigrant farmers get a bad back and can't do farm work, they die. He just said the quiet part out loud when backtracking his own immigration policy. Take a listen to what he said today. Quote, "We want to work with them. In some cases, we're sending them back to their country with a pass to come back legally. We can't let our farmers not have anybody. You know, these people, you can't replace them very easily. People that live in the inner city are not doing this farm work. They're not doing the work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it. Immigrants, however, do it naturally." I said, what happens if they get a bad back? Farmers said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. Once again, Donald Trump is saying the quiet part out loud. He knows that if he goes after undocumented migrants in the farming sector, he will destroy the economy in our agriculture industries. He knows that some of these undocumented migrants are so willing to work through pain and injury because if they report to their bosses that they're injured, they might get kicked out of the country and never be allowed to enter once again. So Donald Trump is once again backtracking his own immigration policy. Fortunately, this time it might actually be a good thing because he's not going to destroy the lives of so many hardworking people that are just trying to contribute to our economy and make a living.
Last night, I watched video after video of farmers who might lose their farms because the government is reneging on contracts they wrote with these farmers. Hi guys, my name's Will, your favorite rural campaign and elections expert, and let's talk about it. Now the problem is President Trump's order to freeze most federal grants and loans has created a panic and uncertainty within the agricultural sector, which relies on billions of dollars in direct government assistance for loans, disaster relief, and conservation practices, many of which have been around since the days of FDR, and farmers have begun to rely on them. Now, if you've watched the news at all, you know that a federal judge blocked the order on Tuesday. The problem is, and what the media isn't telling you, is that farmers and ranchers over the last week to 10 days have begun to receive letters telling them that the government may not be able to live up to the promises they made in these signed contracts with farmers and ranchers to improve conservation and increase productivity on the farm. Sadly, I watched one cattle farmer video last night in the state of Missouri where he said that he's going to fall $80,000 short in funding because the government promised him that if he and his family invested in good conservation practices, they would support his efforts with grants and loans. He received a letter in the past 10 days telling him that they couldn't keep their promise even though they have a signed contract. And as a direct result, he's going to fall $80,000 short on his spring loan payment. And the only option he has right now is to sell his cattle. And he needs those cattle because those cattle are going to have calves, and he needs those calves to pay his fall payment.
Maga, you do realize that the Republican Party, including Donald Trump, are using you. You see, as a Democrat, we've been used as well. For the past 60 years, the Democratic Party has used black people to push their liberal agenda. Now, that is me saying that I agree with you in principle, but I disagree with you when you vote against your own interests, and you see the results of your actions that you took this past November at the ballot box. You see that what is happening in Texas, it's not an anomaly. That is something that happened because of the failures of politicians that put money first. You see, children are dead. It doesn't matter the color of the children. Children are dead. And they are dead because of racism, hatred, and bigotry. They are dead because white folks voted against their own interests. They voted to gut programs that helps them out. Go figure. You see, both political parties, and this is coming from a Democrat, both of them has taken advantage of the poor and the indigent people. They are going to cause you to fight your brothers and sisters in the streets of this country, shed blood. The elites are. They are setting everything in motion, upsetting you, putting you in a place that you're going to have to make a decision here shortly to kill your brothers and your sisters, all while fighting against your best interests. You guys have a nice day.
Man, I tell you what, nothing makes racist white people more pissed off than me, a white person, trying to educate about racism and trying to educate about what white privilege is and all these things. And it's so funny because these same people will argue with me till they are blue in the face about how they're not racist and we don't live in a racist institution and black and brown people have it so easy and racism doesn't exist anymore. But then they will turn around and say the most racist, ignorant, vile shit you've ever heard in your life. The disconnect is amazing. And this is why I make content like this, because it's so important. Because we do live in a racist institution, and we are all raised in racism as white people. This is simply a fact. And the crazy part about it is every one of us knows this. Even the ones who will sit there and fight with me to the death about it and act like it doesn't exist. Y'all know white people are racist. Y'all know about the casual racism, the casual microaggressions that we are raised in, no matter where we live in this United States of America. And this is why I will never stop. I will never stop trying to educate as a white person about racism and how we need to learn. We need to evolve. We need to do better. It's almost as if they feel like admitting to a racist institution or admitting to racism makes them this evil, terrible person. And so they would rather double down than to grow and be a good person.
And that's so bad, because all that says to me is that you have a small mind and a cowardly soul. And I wish better for you than that, truly, because everything in your life will get better when you stop being so ignorant.
Well, it's official. The United States Senate is dead. Last night, the U.S. Senate announced to the world that they are no longer an independent legislative body. They announced to the world that they are nothing but an appendage of the Trump White House. Nothing but a rubber stamp for whatever the hell he wants to do. Because last night they voted to confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. A guy who is the single most unqualified Secretary of Defense in our nation's history. And not only is he unqualified in terms of his lack of relevant professional experience, but he is also disqualified because of his loathsome personal behavior and horrendous character. This is a really bad guy, and it is exceedingly dangerous to put this man in charge of the Department of Defense. But these senators on the Republican side, except for 3, all voted to confirm this man, who they all know has no business being Secretary of Defense. And they did it for one reason: because they are cowards. They are afraid to do what is right because they are afraid of Donald Trump. They are afraid that Donald Trump can end their political career with a single tweet if they get on his bad side. Because the base of the Republican Party is a cult in service of one man, Donald Trump. And if they don't do what he wants, they know that their career could be over in a second.
There's a whole lot of white people who are now upset that they voted for Trump. So I just want to point out this lesson and thing we do in the black community where we say all skin folk and kin folk. Y'all voted for that man because he's white and you didn't want to see a black woman become the president. And now you see all skin folk and kin folk. I don't feel sorry for y'all at all.
These Democrats really are in a panic over this Texas redistricting line drawing thing that is going on right now. There's a special session. The Texas legislature has been called back in so that this issue can be addressed, because they have been padding the voter rolls for years, and they know they've been doing it. The liberals, the Democrats, are so unpopular, there is no way they could win an election with their crank far leftist ideology. No way. No way. So they're padding the voter rolls. That's what they've been doing, and they've gotten used to it, and it's being threatened now because of the redistricting and redrawing these lines, and perhaps even redoing a census at 5 years instead of waiting the 10 years, because it's so bad and so much fraud has been found that it is time to address this and not let it sit and fester and become a cancer like it has been. That's how these incapable, stupid people keep getting reinstalled into these positions. They don't know their job. All they do is steal our money and make themselves rich while their constituents suffer. So, this is why Jasmine Crockett in the 30th district in Texas is panicking. This is why she's been called in. Raphael Warnock, who is starting this John Lewis Voting Rights Act, or John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It's really stupid. John Lewis was a porch Negro who danced on the plantation for massa, and nobody misses him. Bye. Burning in hell, asshole. And now you've got Raphael Warnock, this fake ass preacher who has he's supposedly over the Ebenezer Baptist Church. Shut up. Go somewhere. You are an apostate. You don't represent God. You sold something that doesn't belong to you, which is the soul that God gave you when you were at inception. So whatever. You sold your soul to the devil. And now you're up here at this so-called event trying to tell people, do you know he's saying shit like this? Go look at it under, he posted it on X, and it's like 42 minutes. I had to skip through it because I can't listen to 40 minutes of Raphael Warnock, this chump and this loser, tap dancing for massa on that porch. I can't listen to him. He talks about the Medicaid and how, oh, they're taking away your Medicaid, not mentioning Joe Biden kicking millions of people off Medicaid back in 2022, 2023 during.
Well, I did it again, damn it. Went down that damn rabbit hole, and it was fun. Because I strolled down this hole of farmers that are mad because they're about to lose their farm. Because that federal grant money hasn't shown up yet. And they don't know what to do. And all of them crying. But damn it, in every freaking video, all of them, and I mean all of them, except for maybe one or two, all of them voted for Trump. So why are you complaining is my question. You voted for this. You asked for this stupidity. You complaining that you're about to lose your farm because you voted for a man who told you what he was going to do. But that's your freaking fault. Because you voted for your whiteness instead of voting your heart. Because you didn't want to see that black lady in office. So you voted for that white man. And you knew he was a crook. You knew he was a thief. You knew he was going to do all the dumb shit because you've seen it before. But you mad because you're about to lose your farm. Some of them crying. This land been in my family forever. Yeah. Because it was given to you a long, long time ago. And I ain't crying. And I ain't mad. And I don't care. Because that's what you get for voting for your whiteness. You voted for your whiteness instead of voting for the proper person that you knew was good for that job. But you wanted that man in office that bad. You didn't want her in office. You can't say you voted for the lesser of two evils. You voted his color, not his character. And before we get off of this, y'all know what to do. Hit the heart, share the video, do what we do. This TikTok, damn it. You knew better, but you did it. See, this land that y'all got for free, that's been passed down through the generations, that we didn't get our 40 acres of the mule. So why are we going to be mad because you about to lose yours? This is by design. All of those corporations are buying up farmland across the freaking country. This is on purpose. But you've yet to realize that. Kamala had you saved. The money was appropriated. It was there. But you had to vote for Trump. You knew what he was. You knew what kind of guy he is. But you voted your color. And you thought you was going to get that privilege. But now you understand. If you ain't worth 7, 8 figures, he don't give a shit about you. Or your cousin, or your sister, or your auntie. Nobody. Now you look like me to him. Because you ain't got it like that. So, I'm sorry you're about to lose your land. But I really don't give a damn. Because you knew better. All of you. But you wanted to vote for your privilege and your color instead of who was deserving and who was better. So blame yourself, blame your neighbor, blame the people down the street. It ain't our fault. It's on you.
Hi guys, welcome back once again. I really hope you have watched the full combination of these small videos and all the credits goes to the original creator of the video. Okay guys, right now we all know there is a lot of things that are really happening in America that has really made a lot of people to regret what they did. And we have all seen how white farmers, they are furious at black people because they are confused. Why are black people ain't maybe complaining or helping them in whatever they are doing, or in whatever things, in whatever problems they are really going through? We all know a lot of Maga farmers, whenever they were voting, a lot of them really voted out of racism, and a lot of them really voted out of hatred. Most of them voted against their own interest. We have all seen how these Maga farmers, a lot, they have really came out in large number. They are really going bankrupt. A lot of them, they are really losing their farms, and they are desperately begging black people to really help them to go and maybe to help them in their family. But black people, they have really refused, because black people, they really came out and said, we really warn you for voting for this new administration, but you didn't listen. We really warn you because we saw what's really coming, but you couldn't have listened. Just because you voted out of racism, you have to sort your own self, or just call other Maga farmers to come and help you, or just call your families to come and help you, because we warned you, because we saw what's really coming. But us, we just have to relax, because we have been through this for a very long period of time. We all know black people, they have really gone through a lot for a very long period of time. They have really faced racism for a very long period of time, but they have never talked. And whenever they really came out in large number and they talk, a lot of white people came out and said that you need to pull up your socks, you need to really work hard. Whenever they came out and complained how the cost of living, it has really risen up, how America is just now made for billionaires and millionaires, white people came out and told them, no, you just need to pull up your socks. But right now, this new administration, Trump is just doing what he promised. He promised people to do a lot of changes, and that's what he's really doing. This new administration of President Donald Trump, it doesn't care what kind of races you are, whether you are white, whether you are black, whether you are Latino. It doesn't care who you are. It's just affecting everybody. And this is the reason why maybe these people, they really came out in large number, making videos of how life, it has been so hard. But this new administration isn't favoring everyone. If the cost of something is like $50, if you go to that supermarket, whether you are a black person, you will buy it $50. Whether you are white, whether you are Latino, yeah. And these white farmers, they really came out in large number complaining how they are running losses of millions of money, of how they are going bankrupt, of how foods, they are just rotting in their farms because ICE agents, they took over. They are now making some people or some immigrants to fear to go to work to this place, to drive to the workplace, because they fear they won't see their families again. We've all seen how ICE agents, they are really raiding all over America. Immigrants are forced to hide because they just don't want to go back to their earlier life, because we all know earlier on America was a land of more opportunities. We really believed America was a dreamland. Even right now, other people, they really know America is a dreamland of a lot of people. They are living a better life, whereby a lot of people are really convinced that this is a land whereby you go, you find more opportunities, you find more job opportunities. But right now, even the white people who are living in America, they are warning people, don't come here, because of how the cost of living, it has really risen up. They are warning people, don't come here. Life here, it won't favor you again. Things have really changed dramatically. And American dreams, a lot of people, they are really saying it's no more, because of how people are being treated in America. Earlier on, there's a lot of white people who really came out in line number, and they said that immigrants are the one who are taking their jobs, and they were convinced to vote for deportation of immigrants, without knowing or without remembering these immigrants are the one who are helping the economy of the United States to rise up, who are really helping to shape up the economy of America, because right now these immigrants were the ones who are going to work in these farms without choosing or without maybe feeling bad that they are doing a farm work or farm labor. Right now, those people who are really complaining that there's no job in America, these fields, these Texas farmers, these Nebraska farmers, they are all empty. Foods are rotting in the fields because there's no anyone to go and pick them. Those people who are really complaining of how the shortage of work or shortage of labor in America, where are you now? Why can't you just go and help your own brothers? Your own brothers who these are white farmers, Maga farmers, to help them, at least we can help them to pick this food, at least you can able to make the economy of America to be better once again. Right now there's no anyone who has volunteered to go and pick this food until they have come to an end whereby every farmer is just complaining for voting for this new administration. They are really regretting their vote, but black people, they have just relaxed because they have said that these people we really warned you, but you couldn't have listened. You didn't listen to us. Right now, just deal with your own problem. And another people really come out and say that these people, if they can be given another chance, they can still vote for President Donald Trump for the first time, because they don't know how to learn and listen, because a lot of people or a lot of black people, they overseed and they saw what was really coming to them. Right now they just have to go with the way the government wants. So guys, this video is just for educational purpose and we're just here to learn. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing and give this video a thumb up. Thank you so much for your time. May God bless you whenever you are. Be safe.